I think the bow and arrow is the biggest example of this. You actively made your game worse to force in this mechanic. And when you can't walk 6 steps in that game without having to use more motion controls. Oh, you want to walk across this tightrope? Guess what? You just exited Skyward Sword and entered into a Mario Party minigame because you gotta stay perfectly straight on the stupid line if you want to walk across it.
To me, if they put the option to not have that, that means they didn't have faith in that.
Yeah.
And that they didn't actually want that to be, like, the main drive of the game, which is clearly what they wanted to do.
Interesting.
So,
all right, everybody, strap in because I got something else that's I got a bone to pick.
I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, you know what it is. We were talking about it off mic earlier.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, we've been hinting at we have some issues with Skyward Sword. But, off camera, we kind of realized that we have a bit of a disagreement on this, so you guys will get to hear the great debate about Skyward Sword's motion controls.
This agreement's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. We both, I would say, aren't in love with them, but I'm definitely more on the they drive me crazy scale, and you're like the, well, I hope they never do that again scale.
I was like, I don't mind it, but I can see why people wouldn't like it.
Yeah. I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them so much. I hate them deep, deep, deep down in my soul. This is one reason why the remake is worth more money to me than it is to most people, I think, is because I hate the motion controls. And so being able to play it without motion controls means the world to me. And here's the thing. When I say that, people think, oh, he just can't get the motion controls to work when he's doing sword stuff, right? And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, it's true that I do have issues with the sword fighting, but even then, because, like, that's annoying in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only the beginning. I will start there.
Okay.
It drives me crazy that you can't just go up to an enemy and just kill them. Like, in this game and in Twilight Princess, and to a much lesser extent, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, like, there were definitely tactics for how you would beat an enemy, but it felt like a sword fight. Like, you would learn and master these moves, and then you could get around their armor, right? In Skyward Sword, it's this little mini-game puzzle where you just have to look at which direction their sword is swinging and then just kind of go in that direction and waggle around in this direction. And for me, now this isn't an issue for you, but for me, by the time I look and assess and see which direction it is and swing my sword, they've already moved their sword. So I'm sitting there for like 20 minutes hitting their sword over and over and over again, and it annoys the crap out of me. I don't want to have to do that every single time I see a bokoblin. You know what I mean?
I mean, my thing is that it doesn't, I try to get around the fact that, like, if you don't have a problem with it, then you don't have a problem with it. Like, it doesn't feel like a mini game to me because I don't struggle with it.
Right.
I can just fight them like normal and not think about it. It's like, I don't know. I guess it was a little bit harder the first time I played the game, but I don't know. I didn't really struggle with it.
Well, it's not even about difficulty per se. It's about how annoying it is to have to perform it every single time you want to fight an enemy.
But that's what I'm saying. If you imagine like it's like another game, fighting another enemy, like in you were saying Twilight Princess, fighting another enemy, it doesn't feel like annoying because it didn't feel annoying the first time.
Yeah.
So it's just fighting to me. It's not as good, but it's not particularly hard for me because I don't know, the motion controls, I don't know, they just work with me. They just
to me it drives me crazy because even if they work, I think first of all Link just looks really lame when he does it. He's got his sword, all over the place, up in the air, kind of holding it weird while you're running around. And even when he strikes, he's just kind of, even if you're really good at it, you just strike over and over and over and over and over again in one direction instead of, like, I don't know, looking really cool when you do it. So it just makes
I'll agree with that.
Kind of look really lame, and then you're just kind of striking the same. You're moving your sword around in the same way over and over and over again. It's one of those things. People will never agree on this because even if it works for you or doesn't work for you, you either like it or you don't. But it drives me crazy that I can't just sword fight. I have to play this stupid freaking Wii Sports Resort minigame to attack a bokoblin. It's like, I don't want to play a minigame. I want to fight. I want to, like, have a fight in the game. And that's just the beginning. Because that's what everyone thinks you're talking about when you're complaining about motion controls, right? Because I would be much more forgiving if this wasn't from the era of Nintendo where they had this obsession with forcing you to play their games the way that they want you to play them. Mm-hmm. No options for anything. Drives me crazy. Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks were dang near ruined because they insisted on doing these stupid touch controls. The same thing is true of Skyward Sword. It's not just that you have to do a motion control every individual time that you sword fight anyone for any reason. You can't walk 6 steps in that game without having to use more motion controls. It's ridiculous. Oh, I just walked up to the boss door with a boss key. Am I going to be able to put the key in the door like I have in every single other Zelda game? No. You gotta twist your arm around some weird, stupid direction to try and make the key fit into the door for some stupid reason. Oh, you want to walk across this tightrope? Guess what? You just exited Skyward Sword and entered into a Mario Party minigame because you gotta stay perfectly straight on the stupid line if you want to walk across it. What? Oh, I want to open this door, but guess what? I can't just open the door, because in every other Zelda game, I walk up to the door and I press A, and guess what? Door's open, but no. In this game, I have to stand up on a thing and make my arm go in this huge circle, and Lord help me if I don't have room to make a perfect circle where I am, because then the eyeballs won't follow your sword around. It's obnoxious.
You're a real tangent guy, huh?
It drives me crazy. I'm trying to fly, and you gotta waggle your controls up and down. And it's like, I don't want to do this to fly. Can I please just fly? The worst offender, in my opinion, is the bow and arrow. I think the bow and arrow is indefensible in Skyward Sword.
I do not like the bow and arrow.
It's so bad, because Windwaker and Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, you can lock onto an enemy and shoot an arrow and you'll hit them. But they were so obsessed with the stupid motion controls that they made it so that you can't, if you lock onto an enemy, you won't shoot them with your bow and arrow in Skyward Sword. They actively made a mechanic worse on purpose to force you to use motion controls to use your bow and arrow.
Yeah, I think the Wii, it did that with every game. Some games did it better than others.
Yeah.
The Wii really forced that in pretty much every game, but I will agree that Skyward Sword did it the worst, because they really pushed it, and that obviously did not work for everyone. That if you don't like that, the whole game's gonna be like that, and it's gonna be like suck.
The whole game's a wash
for people that don't like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. For people who don't like it, the whole game's a wash.
But on my side, if that's not something you struggle with, I don't know how to explain it other than like if you're going across a tightrope, it just comes as like second nature in my brain that's exactly what you would do, and you just keep on walking as if I was playing a game with a controller and you just tilt it forward. Mm-hmm. That's how I think of it. So it wasn't particularly like hard for me.
Well, the tightrope and stuff, almost everything that I described isn't difficult for me, other than I do have troubles with the sword fighting. It's just annoying, and it is constantly. It's like having a little yipping dog follow you around. And it's like, I kind of just want to play a Zelda game. But I can't play a Zelda game because I gotta stop and play freaking WarioWare every 5 minutes. You know, can you circle your Wii remote around in just the right way? You know, Twilight Princess had figured out how to do motion controls with the bow and arrow before Skyward Sword did. You can lock on and shoot, or if they're far away, you can aim and shoot. You want to talk about perfection? That's perfection. That's how you do it, because I have the option to use motion controls. But when they take away that option, you're eliminating a lot of your fan base in that process.
Yeah.
And I'll add this too. I've brought this up in a previous episode, but I'll bring it up again here.
Right.
You gotta swing into it.
I don't even think I need to be here.
Oh yeah, you gotta go get the thing.
Yeah.
We almost did the same thing again that we did with Medley last time. You see, when you give options to the player, then if it annoys half your player base, it doesn't matter. They can still play your game and enjoy your game. There's a lot of other problems with Skyward Sword, but I wouldn't be as annoyed with it if I wasn't being reminded every 5 seconds that I have motion controls. Mario Galaxy does this really well. You have the spin mechanic, and then you have like 2 or 3 small mini games that you use the motion controls for, and then you can collect star bits.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if I don't shoot a star bit and I miss, it's not going to kill me right then and there. You know, it's like there's no stakes with it. If I don't spin, it doesn't work. But the spin is such a general motion, it doesn't matter. You can't.
I gotta go somewhere else before this. Oh my god. Oh no, where do I go? Oh, I go to the ice place.
Yeah, you gotta go to the ice
remember.
island.
Wherever that is.
Yeah, Lord help us.
Hold on a second. Is it above this one?
You can look.
I'm gonna come here anyway.
Best of luck. But if you have the option, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? You can just skip over that stuff. And then the people who want to do it can play it that way, but the people who don't want to do it don't have to play it that way. And that's really my problem with it. Not them implementing, because some people really like that stuff. When Megan played Skyward Sword, she got the nunchuck and pulled back in order to shoot the arrow, just like they say you can do. And it was a brilliant option for her. She loved it. I don't ever do it that way. I just point and shoot. But she liked to do it that way. And it's like, you know, good on her. She can play it the way she wants to. But when they force the mechanic on you, it sucks the fun out of it for me. Mario Galaxy, there's no stakes with this stuff. There's nothing that you have to do with it that, like, you are forced to do no matter what. You can skip all of the rolling ball mini games in Mario Galaxy if you want to. And the spin is not this super precise thing. If the remote notices that you've made any motion, Mario will spin.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just it's too the Wii remote is too imprecise even with Wii Motion Plus. Cuz here's kind of the other thing. It works the motion controls in that game with Wii Motion Plus work about 90% of the time. But if any other game, if I press the A button and the A button works 90% of the time, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
If I'm playing Smash Bros. And I can't do my special move 10% of the time, that is not an acceptable rate. If you couldn't make your game work 100% of the time, then you didn't have the technology to realize your vision, and you needed to wait longer to make it.
I mean, that's always like the risk when trying to incorporate motion controls, though. That's been a problem since it was like ever a thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of sympathize with that because that's just the nature of motion controls. If you're trying to put that in your game, you're going to have problems with that no matter what.
I agree, but so if that's the case, then you don't make it something you have to do every 3 seconds.
Yeah. I think they could have waited. I think that's another thing they were just trying to incorporate that into the Wii. Where is this freaking island, dude? I swear it was around here. Oh no. Do you have any idea where it is?
Let's cut real quick. And we're back. If you guys are using this video as a tutorial for some reason, first of all, what the heck are you doing? Second of all, it's an E6.
We couldn't find it for a while, so we just decided to save you the hassle.
save you the hassle of waiting on us. Fire arrows.
Yeah.
So if a button only works 90% of the time, that's not acceptable game design. And if that's just the nature of motion controls, then you need to tone back your motion controls in the game. Don't make it something that you... Once again, I'm going to go back to Mario Galaxy. Those controls are not precise. They don't force you to do anything that you don't have to do. You know, there's nothing that is too taxing on the technology for you to be able to actually perform what the game is asking you to do.
Yeah.
And with Skyward Sword, I wouldn't say it's too taxing, but there are many, many, many times where you will, not every time by any stretch, but there's just, not even most times, but there is just enough times where you will lose something in that game, and it is not your fault. And that is bad game design. And I will say that to the end of time. No matter what the mechanic is, if there is something that you will lose because of something that is not your fault in a game, unless it's like a story sequence, that's bad game design. And I
agree with that principle, for sure.
I expect better of Nintendo. If they think that the technology is... If they understand that the technology is not there yet, then they shouldn't have forced it through. They should have just brought it back a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Or, and this is just very simple, just do what you just did on the Switch. Make it optional. If it's optional, then it's not a problem. Oh, you know, the motion controls didn't work for me, so I'm just going to play it normally.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's something that Nintendo really, really wanted to be in the game, though. Like, that was their vision for the game.
It was their vision from the very, very beginning.
I do think they probably should have waited. Oh, jeez, dude. Oh, man. They only come when I'm trying to climb on stuff. They should have waited, probably, until they had better technology, because I think they have good technology, good enough to do it now without having a lot of problems.
I hear that on the Switch, the motion controls are way better than they were on the Wii.
Yeah, so maybe just wait until the Switch to do it, but I don't blame them for, like, trying to make that work, because that's what they wanted to do with the game, which is why it wasn't optional.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and that's kind of the problem with being a Nintendo fan. You can be proud of some of the best games ever created. You know that every game that comes out is going to be polished. It's not going to be a mess. You're not going to be dealing with an abundance of microtransactions. You're not going to be dealing with a lot of just gaming bullcrap that you have to deal with in the gaming world right now.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things that you have to deal with that no one else in the gaming world has to deal with. One of them being your internet's going to suck. You know?
Yeah.
Another one being they get obsessed with gimmicks. They're just obsessed with them sometimes.
Sometimes they do.
Oh, there's a secret under there. There's a little hole you can
Is
go
it
in.
important?
I don't know, but it probably will only take you a second. I
think that Nintendo is really bad. I guess they're really good at having new ideas for everything they do, but that can be their weakness sometimes.
Yeah.
Because
it's a double-edged sword.
They don't know when to stop sometimes.
Yeah.
Throw it.
You gotta use fire arrows.
Oh shoot! I don't even have my boots off. But yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's for me. I understand that not everyone feels the way that I feel about Skyward Sword, and that it's a very highly debated topic. And I can, in another episode, talk about the other issues that I have with the game. But I feel like I don't feel like it's reasonable for me to say, oh, well, they should have just completely designed the game differently from their vision. But I do find it fair for me to say, you know, it's okay for you to have the motion controls, but you ought to have had an option for those people who don't want to play it that way. You got too tunnel visioned on this one thing, and you made your game... I think the bow and arrow is the biggest example of this. You actively made your game worse to force in this mechanic. And when you are doing that, when you've done something better in the past, and you're doing it worse on purpose now, you gotta reevaluate your game design. You've made a mistake. Somewhere in your process, you have lost your way.
Once again, I think the problem doesn't lie with the fact that they didn't have the option to do it. I just think they should have made their motion controls better. Because if that's what you want to do, then that's what you have to put all of your stuff into if you're going to make that work.
Yeah.
Because to me, if they put the option to not have that, that means they didn't have faith in that.
Yeah.
And that they didn't actually want that to be like the main drive of the game, which is clearly what they wanted to do.
Interesting.
So, I think the motion controls are a massive problem with that game. I personally didn't have a huge problem, even though I can see it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think they should have just waited until they could do it better.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. The way that it reads to me is kind of like the Paper Mario problem, where there was a mandate from on high that, hey, we want all of the Mario stuff to all be copacetic, so you can't do anything original in your spin-off games anymore.
Yeah.
That's how Skyward Sword reads to me. Someone, somewhere, said, hey, we want to push the motion controls really hard. And so we want everything to be controlled with motion controls. Wow, what a waste. We want everything to be controlled with motion controls in Skyward Sword. And so then Anuma and everyone else had to enact that vision. They had some really good ideas, but the technology wasn't there. But they didn't have the option to wait longer.
Yeah.
And that's how that situation reads to me. But, I could be wrong. So anyway, that's about it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please don't be too angry at me for my hot takes. And we'll see you next time on Windwaker.
Windwaker.
You know what to do.
And if you don't, ask someone.